welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. So I'm going to talk about a topic that I don't think I've ever heard anyone directly address. And this is what I want to talk about are signs of when you are recovering. And so let me start here. Everyone in their life has been triggered by something. You know, your kids do something and it makes you crazy. Your husband, something breaks in your house. You know, you have an unexpected emergency. You get a flat tire. And when that thing happens, it can set off your stress response system. And at that moment, when your stress response system activates, you might feel a heaviness in your heart or a hole in the pit of your stomach, or your heart might start to beat really fast, or your breathing might get really shallow. So that's a physical effect of being triggered. But you're at the same time, your adrenaline is starting to flow and it's getting your fight or flight system activated so that you can take action. Also with that is, for many people, their brain starts to go crazy. They might go into this whole incessant worry thing, or they might ruminate, which means they think about a past thing and try to solve the issue in their mind. You know, but basically, you're freaking out, you know, and we've all had those moments where we've been freaking out. But people that have experienced trauma, you know, you brought up in a dysfunctional household where there was abuse or abandonment or neglect or drug addiction. I mean, you know, or you have a lot of traumatic things happen in your life. You can experience trauma. And so when something happens, you might overreact. You're not overreacting to you, but to maybe the people around you're overreacting just a bit. And so for most people, and I'm saying that because I don't know the statistics, so this might not be many people, but I'm just going to say most people, you know, something happens, they get triggered, you know, and they count to 10, or they take a few breaths, or they move around and they're able to recover and they're able to come back into the present and be normal and not freaked out anymore. But people that have experienced trauma have a much harder time coming back into that same space. And for some, it might take them hours, which is actually can be kind of normal, you know, like the rest of the day, maybe into the next day before things normalize for them. And I would say that that's an okay recovery period. But for some people, it might take them days, or it might take them a couple of weeks to finally come back to themselves and to be able to turn their brains off and turn their adrenal glands off and be able to lift the heaviness in their heart and become more present and more there and open and available. And so I'm not talking as much about the trigger response or how to heal that. You know, we've talked about that multiple times on this show. But what I want to focus on today is what happens when you start working on yourself. You know, and I've talked a lot on this show about mindfulness, but what happens when you start becoming aware of what's going on inside? And what happens when you start to become an active participant in your own healing? So I have a lot of clients that they don't emote, they get triggered and they go off the handle. You know, I have one client that was very easily triggered. You could just make some sideways comment at her and she would go into this very defensive posturing. And I was kind of glad that we talked on the phone, because not that she would, but I wouldn't want her beating the crap out of me. But she would lash out in anger, not only with her words, but I could see where she was holding back potentially a physical response to what was going on. I have another client, it's like anything, anything health-wise, because that's her trigger. So the first client, if you said something that inside of her made her feel like she was disrespected, that would set her off. A different client, if there was any kind of health issue going on, it would set her off. So she would cough 3 times and be on the phone with me like, oh, I coughed 3 times and I'm going to die, check my lungs, maybe I have cancer. And that would happen on a real regular basis. I'd get these emergency dire phone calls because something would happen. She would cough 3 times and would be triggered. Another client, anything that would happen in her house, and it was kind of like, the place is going to fall down around me and I'm going to be out on the street. And what am I going to do? And I'm going to be homeless, and anyway. But it's me. And, after a while of hearing this, I just laugh at them. But, I also work with them on helping to resolve the trigger and helping to become more whole. And it's interesting because they start to change, and the way they react to a stressful situation starts to change. And I'm going to say many times, but I'm going to say this in a different way. Every time that happens, they don't recognize that things have changed, that things maybe have gotten better because they're living from the inside of themselves and don't see themselves from the outside, over time, to see that in the past, if I coughed 3 times, I was like, thermometers, vitamin C, doing all this stuff and having a meltdown, to where, okay, I coughed 3 times, I'm going to kind of check in. Do I really feel sick? No, I don't. Okay, I'm moving on. And so what I wanted to talk about today, the point of this whole thing, this whole setup, is how you can tell that you are moving forward in your healing journey. Because again, a lot of the times, these individuals do not recognize that they are moving forward in their healing journey and that they're getting better. And so that's what I want to talk about. And so the first thing that most people, I don't want to say they recognize it, but the first way that you can tell is that you're able to emotionally regulate better. So emotional regulation is kind of like the initial breakdown, where you go into that freak out mode. And you become less reactive to the things that are going on around you. Like you cough 3 times and you go, oh, I coughed 3 times, and you move on. Or it might stop you for a second and then you move on. So someone that has a big trigger, so I'm just going to keep using this coughing 3 times thing. So let's say when this person would cough 3 times, it might lay them up, literally for like a week. And by the end of the week, that's when I get the phone call. It's like, well, on Friday, I coughed 3 times and I'm still really worried. But as they start working on themselves, as they start increasing their looking at themselves, increasing their mindfulness of themselves and them being triggered, they are able to come back from that triggering faster. So it might be you're really upset for a week, but you might notice that after a while, it doesn't take you a week. Maybe it only takes you 3 days. Maybe you have a situation where you cough and you're like, I coughed, and you just move on. And so those are the kinds, that's a big one to sit there and pay attention to I was triggered, and how long did it take me to recover? And you can, and if you're being aware and paying attention, which obviously is part of this whole healing journey, you can track that and monitor it. And I'll self-disclose, I'm a ruminator and I can be really good at it. And I decided that if there was something that I was thinking about and ruminating about because I was triggered, maybe not like mega triggered, but enough to get my brain going, that I would give it, depending on the situation, up to 3 days. And if I'm still thinking about it after 3 days, then I'm going to say something and I'm going to take some kind of action about it. So not freaking out, so the world is mostly good, but it keeps coming into my brain. Okay. For some people, it's reduced physical symptoms, that they're able to breathe better. They have less muscle tension. They might have less fatigue, because if you are easily triggered, if you're triggered all the time, if when you're triggered, you're in a stress response for extended period of times, a lot of the times your adrenal glands get wore out. And so when you're not being activated, when your stress response system isn't being activated all the time, it gives your adrenal glands a chance to heal and recover and recharge. And so you might start feeling less fatigue and more relaxed. I was just talking about ruminating, but one of the things that is often tied to trauma and a trauma response is flashbacks and intrusive thoughts. And we've talked about intrusive thoughts, but intrusive thoughts are things like worrying, like, okay, it's raining out. Okay, what am I going to do? And then you worry the whole rest of the day. Like, is it going to leak through my roof? Am I going to come home and there's a big puddle? Blah, blah, blah. Worry. And then ruminating is thinking about something that's happened like in the past. It's like, oh, I had a conversation with my boss and he said this thing. And now I have to like unpack it and rearrange it and do this thing to it with the hopes that I'm going to fix it in my mind. But really the only way to fix it is for me to go have a conversation with my boss about what the situation that just happened. But if you are starting on that healing journey, that perhaps the time that you spend worrying or the time that you spend ruminating is reduced. Now, if you're emotionally regulating better, those two are usually tied together, because when you're dysregulated, it makes your brain go cattywampus. You might have better coping strategies, and that is part of that working on yourself. You might breathe, or you might tap, or you might go to the gym and work out, or go for a walk, or hug a tree, or mow the lawn. Whatever that thing is that helps you to find yourself again is considered a coping strategy. And so that's part of that healing place. But as you work with them, so you can sit there and do a breathing exercise and have it do nothing. But the more you work with it, the more you practice it, the more effective it is going to be, and the more your body is going to respond to it. And so, working with coping strategies, not just when you're triggered, but when you're in a good place, makes it so that when you are triggered, you're able to, and the word would be self-soothe, to calm yourself and calm everything down. You might find that you have healthier relationships. Oh, shocking. Shocking. You might find that you're able to more easily establish boundaries, or you're more easily able to communicate your needs, or the more healthy relationship you're having is your relationship with yourself, and you can love and honor yourself more so that you can actually be part of the relationship and not just the maid with benefits. Anyway, but also, and I think part of this whole healing journey is having moments of, so to me, the base level is having moments of contentment. Okay. The world isn't going crazy. I'm not going crazy. Things are okay. They're okay. But you can actually have moments of higher vibration. You can have moments where you're happy, or you can have moments when you're joyful, or moments when you're satisfied. But if you're in that triggered response space and stuck in a cycle of negative thinking, that's never going to happen, because your energy and your vibration is so low that contentment is not even on your radar. But as you learn to, or as you work on healing and you're able to emotionally regulate better, it might be that you notice that, wow, that really triggered me, but it only took me 24 hours to get back to me versus a week, and I think that would be a moment to celebrate. It's like, oh, it didn't take a week. So, but with healing, and this kind of work, it isn't linear, and you might have setbacks. And so you might go for a while where, maybe something happens and you recover pretty quick, and something happens and you recover pretty quick, or you don't react in a bad way. So as an example, I got a flat tire, I don't know, last month, maybe a little more than that. And if it had been before, I would probably have been, not a nutcase, but not a happy girl. And it was like, I got a flat tire. Okay, I need to get it fixed. And it was a nothing burger. Actually, I was kind of happy because I found that I got the flat tire and I was right in front of the gym that I go to. And I knew inside were all these like buff guys that would come and change my tire for me, because I would do that. Who needs AAA when you can find some guy to take care of it for you? Oops. Anyway, but if you find that you're back in a dark hole that is reminiscent of where you used to be, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you've gone all the way back there for eternity. It means that that's where you are today, and you'll recover again. And perhaps it was just a fluky thing and you move on from that. It doesn't take away from the progress that you've made up to this point in your life. So for all of you that are listening that have maybe suffered from trauma and have had issues with, and I'm going to say emotional regulation, but have been working on yourselves, I challenge you to start paying attention to what's going on and your recovery time, because that lets you know how well you are doing in your healing progress. Okay. So as always, if you need help, if you are struggling with getting triggered and getting stuck in a stress response, emotional regulation, please reach out to me at soulhealer.com. I would love to work with you to help get you back on track, get those time periods down into shorter and shorter periods, so that you can maybe find contentment or happiness or joy in your life. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics, where you can go and get my free 50-page guide to jumpstart your intuition, and where you can learn. The Institute of Applied Energetics is where you can learn to become a medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner, all from the comfort of your own home. And for anybody that's listening to this show in a pre-recorded format, if you want to join the festivities, please go to my YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube, 7 p.m. Central Time every Thursday evening, and join the fun. And also, I would love for you guys to connect with me on social media. There's my information about that. And that's all I got. Okay, that's all I got. All right, guys. So there's like a gajillion comments in here. And again, and I always ask you guys, if you want to communicate with me, please type in all capital letters. If you're chit-chatting amongst yourself, please use lowercase so I can separate out who is communicating to me and not pay attention to you guys talking to each other. Okay. All right, let me give these a quick little shuffle. And ERRT Radio is up first, and he says, "Hi, Dr. Rita, happy Thursday, and your hair looks amazing." It does look pretty good today. May I have a reading number 3, please? Thank you. Okay, you sure can. Okay, and I just want to mention this, totally off topic before we get started. So I know of 5 people that died this week. 5 people. And then, like a couple of weeks ago, there was a bunch of people that died. I don't know. It just seems like people are dropping like flies. And the people that I know that died this week were not really old. And I just saw Kelly Clarkson's husband, who I don't know her personally, but she's in my 5. He was 48 years old. Anyway, I want to say I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll just say I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, don't like it. Don't like it. And it just makes me sad because a good friend who was very hot died. So, all right, ERRT Radio, here's your card for today. Okay, let's see. So ERRT Radio, I feel like you've gotten some good news. I feel like that you feel like things are moving forward. I feel like they were in a little bit of a stuck spot. I feel like you haven't quite worked out all of the logistics of what needs to be done, but I feel like, and I'm going to say emotionally, you're not stuck, and that you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you have a direction in which to go, and just that makes you feel better. So cool. Good job. All right. And we have Master Player. Hey, Master Player. And he says, "Evening, a number 1, please, and thank you." Okay, number 1 coming up for you, Master Player. And you're welcome. Uh-oh. Oops. And I didn't do 1. So you're getting a 3, Master Player, because I did 3. All right, but that's going to be your card. All right. So I want to say that I'm feeling like you're frustrated, but frustrated is not the right word. But I just am getting this impression, kind of like you want to take some kind of revenge, like you want to react to something in a certain way. I feel like there's some anger and hostility tied to it. I feel like in the moment you're trying to decide whether you're going to do anything or not, but then there's this other piece of you that is really kind of irritated and pissed off. I mean, I'm feeling like saying or, I'm going to say doing something, but I don't want you to like do anything bad. Saying or doing something, having some kind of reaction to the situation would be you being more authentic to yourself than sucking up whatever this situation is, because I feel like it's not a new situation and you're just tired of it. And maybe that's where I'm getting the frustration from, is that you're just tired of it. Good luck. Be neutral. In whatever you do, just try to deal with it and interact it and be neutral. And Karen says, hi, Dr. Rita, missed you last week. Hope you're feeling better. I have a reading number 3. Thank you. You sure can, Karen. And I want to apologize to everyone for not being here last week. All right, so here's my deal. I'm going to tell you everything. Okay. So, you go to the doctor for your annual exam. Well, apparently, which, they discovered this like 3 years ago, and I just found out about it, that apparently I'm pre-diabetic. And I'm like, okay, so what can I do about it? I can't really afford to lose much more weight. I'm already pretty scrawny. I eat pretty healthy. I eat a fairly low carbohydrate diet. So like the things that you would do to deal with your blood sugar, I got nothing. And so I decided to get, I don't know, it was a thing from Walmart that was a chromium and berberine, and they're supposed to help regulate blood sugar. So I thought that I would take that once a day. You're supposed to take it twice a day. And I'm like, I don't need that much help because I'm not that far over the line. So I decided to take it once a day. Well, apparently it was killing my blood sugar. And so by last Thursday, I could barely get off the sofa. I mean, I literally just laid on the sofa all day. I don't lay on the sofa. Okay. I don't lay on the sofa. I mean, and I was like, okay, there's something not right. And so I decided not to take that medication. And then by Friday, I was fine. And so I know it was the medication. I mean, because I was getting like faint, I'd get up and the room was spinning around. So it really concerned me. But then I was like, it's a blood sugar thing. And so, and what was I taking for blood sugar but that stuff? So doctors, they're so stupid. Anyway, okay, so Karen, all right, you wanted a number 3 and I did mix them. That is your card for today. So now you guys know everything. So I'm fine. I'm fine. All right, so Karen. Okay, so Karen, and I feel like you have been in a space that you have been open and listening to your inner guidance. I feel like the answers aren't quite coming in quite as fast as you would like for them to come. But girl, don't push it. I feel like what they are formulating for you is going to be really good. I feel like part of this is you learning that lesson of patience, and allowing them to lead the way. So let them lead the way. Okay? Even though sometimes it feels like it sucks. All right, Christine. All right, she says, hello, may I have a reading number 2, please, and thank you. You sure can. So you guys all know that, like, if you need some help, to just reach out to me. Now, granted, you'd have to pay for it, but reach out to me. And you want a number 2. All right, number 2. All right, that's your card for today. So Christine, are you like in a little bit of a triggered place? I'm kind of feeling like there are a lot of like negative thoughts in you, around you. I feel like your vibration is low. like you're stuck in a negative thought pattern. Um, okay. So they're telling me that you already know the answer and you already know what you need to do, but you're not really liking it. Um, but you already know. So maybe it's time for you to just kind of pony up to it and take care of what's going on and move on from there. Okay. Okay, guys, so if these readings are hitting, you know me, I always like to hear the dirt about what's going on. All right. And of course, if you want, you can leave me a little something in the tip jar by going to soulhealer.com/live. That's soulhealer.com/live. All right, Yvonne. Hey, Yvonne. Hi, Dr. Rita. Glad you're here. Can I get a reading number 2? You sure can. Also, there's a whole long line. I don't even know if I'll get to your guys' comment, but I would love to hear from anyone who has experienced trauma and has noticed some of these changes within themselves. I would love to get, not that I need the feedback, but I just would like to know if you have been able to see those changes, even if it's in a hindsight place where it's like, that you're sitting here today going, yeah, I guess it has changed and it has shifted. All right, Yvonne, here's your card. Well, see, at least it's a good card. Wow. Okay. So, Yvonne, I get the impression that you have decided to give the world the big middle finger. And I feel like you've decided that you are just going to do Yvonne, and you are going to allow yourself to bubble up and emerge from the poo. I feel like you're really throwing off other people's thoughts, ideas, and beliefs of who you should be. And it might not even be what people are saying to you today, but what people said to you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and just recreating yourself in your own image. I'm loving this card for you. Loving this card for you. I mean, I hope it's been an easy process, but it really feels like a big shift in the growth area. So that's really good. Hey, Don. So Don said, good evening, Dr. Rita. And the rest of you, could I get a 1 reading? You sure can, Don. Okay, and that's your card for today. So Dawn, I'm kind of feeling like you're like in this middle place inside of yourself. Okay, I'm not even sure how to explain this. So I feel like you are in a place where you're not really sure what to do, because your body is used to kind of like, if something happens, I'm going to go over here and kind of go up the deep end and end up in my rabbit hole over here. But you're not doing that anymore. And so you're not quite sure what to do, because it's a totally new experience. And you know what, Dawn? That's okay. And you don't have to know what to do. But in the meantime, just because you don't know what to do and it's kind of a strange and unusual place for you, please, please, please don't beat yourself up about it. Don't let your inner critic turn on and go, oh, well, but it could have been like this. It's like, no, this is where you're at right in this second, in this moment. Don't berate yourself about it. Please don't berate yourself about it, because I'm not feeling like it's that bad of a place. I mean, it's not the best place, but it's not that bad of a place in general. All right. And now we have Miss Amy. And she says, hi, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. May I have a number 2 today? Thank you. You sure can, Amy. All right, and that's your card for today. So, Amy, your energy feels a little dark and introspective. I feel like you've kind of pulled it all in. You know, and I don't know if I've noticed this before, but maybe, well, no, I've noticed this before, but maybe not in on this end of the cycle, you know, but I feel like, you know, you cycle through stuff, and I feel like you're on the introverted end of this. I feel like you are regrouping, recharging, allowing the moonlight. You keep showing me the moonlight, allowing the moonlight to fill your batteries and make you be whole again. I feel like this is interesting. So what they're showing me is that when you're out in the sun, and I don't mean the physical sun, but when you're up and out there, when your energy is out there, it's actually really kind of draining to you. And so that's what I mean by being out in the sun. And so that you need to have time and moments where you're in the moonlight. And I feel like you're in the moonlight right now, you know, just kind of healing and recovering. And not that I'm feeling like there's anything been bad going on. I just feel like you've been using a lot of energy and you're recharging. And that's okay. It's all okay. All right, let's see. Hey, Joe. And thank you for about the video. Hey, Gary, can I have a reading of 3 after you get through? You sure can, Gary. All right, so Gary, that's your card for today. Okay, so I'm not really understanding what this means particularly, but I'm feeling like you've been put into a position where you have to kind of like separate out from you and put up this front and be very clear about what you want and what you need and what you expect, and not allow your feelings and emotions to get caught up into it. I mean, I'm not feeling like it's a right or wrong thing. I feel like, you know, it is just a thing for now because you are working through some stuff that you really need to make that kind of separation from, and have the ability to have very strong boundaries around it. And so this dynamic is what's helping you make it through this time. All right, let's see. And ERRT Radio, thank you for using lowercase. I appreciate you. All right. Hi, Mark Eddie. How are you? Okay. And Marco. Hey, Marco. Hey, it's Bad Dog. So I wonder if Bad Dog is the same as Blind Dog. I don't know. But he wants a number, he or she wants a number 3. So, okay, you're going to get a number 3. Okay, there's your card. And so, Bad Dog, if this is your first time here, welcome to the show. I really appreciate spending some time and tuning in. And I hope your reading goes good and that you come back and join this community. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so Bad Dog, I feel like there's some situations going on that you are looking for some guidance on, which is probably why you're here in the first place. I am feeling like your, I'm going to say your spirit guides, your council of elders, whatever word you want to use, that normally gives you advice is there trying to give you the information. I get the impression that you are discounting everything they have to say. And so if there's confusion going on in your life and if you need answers, then perhaps it would be appropriate for you to quiet down your mind and allow that inner voice to come up and give you the guidance that you're looking for, because that guidance is always right and it's always for your highest good. Okay? All right, so Dawn says, Dr. Rita, you look really great today. I did miss you last week, but maybe it's real good time to take a real vacation. Wow, 1-day vacation. Okay. Ricky says, good evening, Dr. Rita. Your hair looks great and you look amazing. My number 3. Please, thank you. I love you guys. You know that? So I'm getting ready to publish on Substack an article on programming, on how the internet, social media platforms, and search engines and other digital media, as well as the news, are working on programming us. So when I release it, I'll let you know, or you can sign up for my free Substack channel. It's at Dr. Rita Louise on Substack, and that will be dropping probably on Tuesday. So just, ooh, Ricky. Okay, so for anyone new here, when these cards come up, they usually indicate that there is something you don't want to look at, something you're in denial about, something where there's some kind of resistance in your space. And, ooh, Ricky, 2. Okay, so, I mean, it's interesting because, all right, you got that. And then you got this card, and I was like, yeah, but I'm not feeling certainty on it, like that it was the answer. Then you got that card. And then you got this card, which wasn't really good. And then you got this card, which was okay, but I feel like that's the card with the answer on it. So even though it seems like a lot of cards, I feel like it's not that bad. How's that? It's not that bad. Okay. So, Ricky, I just get the impression that you've just been kind of floundering around. I'm feeling like you're feeling a bit lost. I also feel like when you go to check in inside, okay, I'm going to say it in a different way. You're not going and checking in inside. It's like your brain is trying to solve the problem, but the answer to the problem isn't there. I feel like it's coming from a deeper place within you. Something that I would like to recommend to you specifically is perhaps doing some journaling around this issue. When we journal, when we write stuff down and just, because I know that there is an issue that you're trying to work through. So write down what the issue is and then start just documenting anything free flow that comes to your mind. Because I feel like what this resistance is and this feeling of not being in control is what's creating the resistance in the first place. It will give you this feeling of control. It will give you the information that you're looking for so that you can move forward in a much more confident way. Okay? Okay. That all is going to the bottom of the pile. And again, if these readings are making sense to you or you want to leave me a little something in the tip jar, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. Hey, Bradley, how are you? Lola, hey, Lola. I was thinking about you the other day. Hi, Joe. And Joe says, hi, Dr. Rita, missed you last week. Great talk tonight. Thank you. May I please have a number 2 reading? And you sure can, Joe. Okay, and that's your card for today. And again, guys, if these readings are making sense or resonating with you, I'd love the feedback. All right, Joe. All right, hang on. So, Joe, I get the impression that, and I'm going to say like last week, I don't feel like it was like today or yesterday, but a few days before last week, that there was just a lot of crap going on and you did not like it and it was not fun. And it was just really anxiety producing for you. And what's interesting, because I could see all of that in this card, but when I look at your space, I feel like it is starting to relax and it is starting to discharge and it is starting to, like, you as spirit are starting to relax back into your body. And I feel like you're finally being able to breathe a little bit and look around the world and go, oh, hey, world, haven't seen you in a little bit. So welcome back. That's all I got. Welcome back. And sorry you went through whatever that was, because it did not look like it was fun for you. All right. Wendy. Hey, Miss Wendy. I'd like a reading number 2. You sure can, Wendy. Long time no see. All right, Wendy, what do you got? All right, that's your card for today. All right, just hang on a second here. Okay, so what I want to say hello to is I feel like there's two pieces going on. I feel like there's what you're showing to the world, which is one thing, but I feel like below the surface there's a bunch of anxiety going on. I feel like there is this it's not happening fast enough energy, that you want to move this thing forward, but I'm feeling like it's not making it move forward, and it's not making the anxiety go away, and it's not doing anything or serving any purpose to your higher good by trying to push it, and trying to put force behind it versus just letting it do whatever it wants to do. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but that's what I got. All right, let's see. Yvonne says, we're in a 9-year, lots of people leaving this year. Like, do you mean like leaving, or, I mean, this has been a really interesting year. It's been a good year, but a challenging year at the same time, because there's just been a lot of like shifting and moving and yeah. Okay, so Lola wants a reading. Yay. And number 2. You sure can, Lola. And nice seeing you too. Long time no see. Okay, and that's your card for today. So Lola, what you're showing me is okay, so the word that came up was discontent. I feel like you want to be doing something, or you want to kind of get back out there and be doing something, but you're not really sure what all you really want to do. Without, it sometimes is kind of hard, because I know almost all of you, I don't want to say personally, but enough. I know you enough. So when I sit there and look at what the do something is, all you keep hitting is what you've done professionally. And I feel like that's not really what you want to do. And so that kind of leaves this whole other void of, I don't know what to do. Haven't let that other piece go to give it permission to let anything else come in. And it almost like letting that go, when I look at that, it's like it almost makes you sick. So I think about letting that go based on all the time and energy that you put into it already. But I'm not feeling the excitement. I'm not feeling okay, I'm going to frame this in a different way. I feel like you want to have something to do, but I feel like you want to have something to do that brings you satisfaction, that brings you joy, not just that brings you money. When you look at what you've done before, that will bring you money, but it doesn't bring you the satisfaction that you're really looking for. And so maybe being able to separate out those two things. Am I doing something because I want to make the money, or I need to make the money? Or am I going to be doing this thing because it brings me joy? And so if it brings you, and that's the decision that you need to make. And I feel like that's kind of the crossroads where you're at right now. Okay. All right, let's see. ERRT Radio says, wow, amazing as always. Thank you. What do you guys copy each other? Master Player says, an amazing reading as always. Thank you, and great hair. Thanks, Master Player. And then Lola says, oh my God, sorry about your blood sugar. I'm not worried about it, Lola. It's like, so the range is for being like pre-diabetic is 5.7 to 6.4. And I'm 5.7. And I'm not 20 years old. And I think, even though, of course, they won't tell you this, I think as you get older, you're going to slip a little bit more into those numbers, and I don't really care. I take care of myself. I eat decent. I can't, and I won't take the medication. So the alternative thing I try to do is obviously not the solution. And to be honest with you, so like, how they do those blood glucose tests, like you fast and then they do a glucose analysis or whatever. It's like mine's always normal. It's always normal, so I'm thinking that there's something else going on inside of me that's making that number be slightly elevated, but they have to label me as pre-diabetic. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm pre-diabetic. Not really. All right, Don says, Dr. Rita, drink some Merlot wine once in a while with dinner. Okay. And then Marco says, Rita, let's go on a date Saturday. You pick the place. Okay, let me know. Okay, Marco, that sounds great. Christine says, thank you. Yes, I have been feeling a bit down. I'm trying to bring myself back up. It'll come. It'll come, Christine. Yvonne said, doctors are terrible. I only go to them. Actually, the only reason I started going to the doctor was I had to have a referral to go to the chiropractor because I love going to the chiropractor. And so I would go once a year. Well, now they want me to go twice a year because I'm pre-diabetic. And when I actually went for my second visit this year because they like jumped my crap because I'm pre-diabetic. And they didn't even check my A1C level. And it's like, well, what did I come here for? I wasn't, why am I here? We're having a conversation about that because I ain't doing that again. All right. All right. Don says, thank you again, Dr. Rita. It's as you said. Good thing, Don. And Lyeth Laverne Hawk. That's a mouthful. Hi, nice to see you. Welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Rita. Thank you for tuning in. Then Don says, and speaking about trauma, I was once 82, I'm guessing in 82, pronounced dead twice from being in a motorcycle accident as a test rider for American Honda. Besides the COVID I went through 5 times with that. No wonder why you're so freaking weird, Don, and that's why we love you. Ouch. Bad Dog said, thank you. Bad Dog said, great reading, Rita. Thank you. Well, Bad Dog, I hope that you come back because this is what we do every week, Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central. Amy said, spot on reading. Definitely drained from yesterday. Long awaiting tense decision handed down yesterday for oldest son. Ooh, positive outcome. Yay. Resting and recharging for sure. That's great. And then we have Eduardo Felipe. Hey, Eduardo, welcome to the show. Oh, our time's up, so I'm just going to quickly scroll through down to the bottom and then say goodbye. ERRT Radio said, great topic and show again tonight, Dr. Rita. Thank you for an excellent reading. You're welcome. All right, let's see. Is it true that when you wake up with scratches all over your body that spirits were attacking you in your sleep? This happened last night. Yes, I slept with animals, but I'm a light sleeper and would wake up if my animal scratched me this much. I've heard that. I've never had that happen to me. There are people that say that that is true. Usually if there's one occurrence in a household, it will repeat. So if this is just like a fluke thing, then I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. All right, so Ahura, I'm saying hi and bye. Gotta go. Joe said, thanks. Thank you for the spot on reading on where you said I was, and I'm right. All right now. Great. Match player, great show. Amy says, great topic. Lola says, I've been stuck working on the office and not being able to make myself get it open. Lola, give me a call. Let's set up an appointment. All right, let's see. And then Ray says, oh, I missed an hour. Yeah, Ray, you missed an hour. 7 p.m. Central. But come back next week and we'll do it all again. So, guys, remember, this show is brought to you by soulhealer.com. So stop on my website if you'd like to set up a time for a private consultation and all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm going to cut out for now. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Till next week, be blessed.